Pizza deliverers of Reddit. What's the most awkward situation you've ever been in at someone's doorstep? In my first month delivering pizzas as an awkward teenager in suburban San Diego, I pulled up to a house and got out, toting 5 pizzas to the door of a very unassuming house. As I approached the door, I could see someone turn off the lights to the front room and I got a bit scared. I had heard the stories of drivers getting jumped and robbed of their tip money, so instantly my mind goes to that. I walk slowly to the door and ring the bell. After a few seconds I hear somebody behind the door ask, "How old are you?" I answered, "Pizza Hut." Then I heard some muffled laughing. The woman again asks, "How old are you?" Reluctantly, I answer, 18. The door opens slowly and a woman is standing there completely naked with her hands outstretched. My jaw must have hit the ground. Then a flash of light from a camera behind her and a room full of guys bursts into laughter. Turns out it was a bachelor party. I got a good laugh but never did see the pic that was taken. I've been delivering for 2 years, and surprisingly haven't had any awkward situations, but there was this one little kid who answered the door. He was probably about 4. For his mom. He brought the receipt to his mom to sign, and when he brought it back, he said, "Here, my mom doesn't tip so I will," and he gave me this crumpled up dollar from his pocket. This is the best freaking response in the entire thread, oh god. I had to fight a guy off after delivering a pizza. He was very drunk and thought I was a taxi, so he kept on trying to get in my car. I literally kicked him out of the passenger side and sped off into the night, passenger door open until the next hard right. Once had a delivery to a house that was in one of the rich neighborhoods. I pull up to the house, drive down a long butt driveway, and when I finally get to the door, I see an envelope taped to it. There is nothing written on it except Domino's on one side and leave on doorstep on the other. Inside is enough money to cover the pizza and a $10 tip. I look around kind of awkwardly before setting the pizzas on the doormat and putting the money in my pocket. While I'm walking back to my car, I turn back around to look at the house, and lo and behold, the pizzas are no longer on the doormat. But I didn't hear a door, and it hadn't been but 4 or 5 seconds since I had turned around. I also noticed as I was getting back in my car that there were cameras all around the perimeter of the house on the walls, painted the same color as the house to blend in. I drove away and not a single frick was given. Definitely Ninja Turtles. My first day, first delivery ever. It was to a Motel 6. The guy answered wearing red pumps, a purple and black kitty cat thong, and a pink felt blouse. Told him I liked his purse and walked out with a $20 tip. Good for you, man. All that dude wanted to do was feel pretty and you helped him out. Girl answers the door and yells to her sister, "Your boyfriend's here." She comes running down in her bra and underwear. Gets to the door, sees a confused looking pizza guy, so she screams and runs away while yelling profanities at her sister. The sister loses it laughing and gives me a $8 tip. Solid deliver 10/10 would deliver again. That's an awesome prank. For your sake, I hope she was hot. I showed up to deliver a pizza on a hot summer night and the guy who ordered it was passed out flat on his back in the living room just inside the screen door. The TV was blasting so loud he would have had a hard time hearing me knocking and shouting even if he hasn't been unconscious. After about a minute he stirred, got himself up and paid. I think he intended to give me 2 10s and a 1 for the $18 pizza, but he was so out of it he gave me 2 20s and a $5, $27 tip. Doesn't matter, got a good tip. This one lady ordered a sandwich which was just at the $6 minimum for delivery. Total was $5.99 plus tax. Of course I come to the door and it's an old lady. I tell her the price is $6.34 and she goes off on a tangent about how it was supposed to be $5.99. I had to sit there and explain sales tax to her. She shut the door and came back with a calculator and I had to explain to her how to multiply by the tax rate and showed her why it was not $5.99 like her coupon said. Makes you wonder what she does at stores. As a delivery driver in a crappy area, I've seen plenty of crap. There's one night that's always going to stick with me though. I was dropping off a small pizza and a sandwich to a room in the nearby motel. This motel is that place in your neighborhood, the kind of place that you pass by and think to yourself, dang, if I ever need to buy Crystal M, I know where to go. I enter the building and walk down the hall to find the customer's room. It's very late on a weeknight, so the motel is understandably silent. Then bang, the sound of something very heavy hitting the inside of a door. I hear faint crying and another bang against the door. I stop in my tracks and wait to hear something else before I do anything. This isn't the first time I've heard domestic violence occurring. Sometimes it's just what I'm hearing. A push or a slap and usually two people screaming at each other. Couples fighting. Friends in an argument. I witness lots of things. But something was different this time. I hear a deep voice yelling at someone. Can't quite make out what he said. Then a much louder scream from a woman's voice and another bang against the wall. I can make out the sentence "stay away from us" being yelled by the woman. The us part was like a cold chill through my spine. I called the police. I didn't even consider finding the customer's door first. Just put my bag down and pulled out my phone. I waited right next to the door, nervously waiting for help as I continued to listen to the yelling and crying on the other side. Officers arrived a few minutes later. The guy that opened the door looked completely normal and pretended to be surprised as the police pushed the door in. They pulled a woman out of the room. She was bloody and in a shock-induced rage towards the man. I found the customer's room and uneventfully dropped off the order. On my way out I saw the police carrying a baby out of the room. Sometimes when I look back at this night, I get an overwhelming feeling of disgust thinking about what that man was doing in that crappy motel room. What's worse is thinking about what the man would have been doing had I not stopped and done something. TLDR. Stopped some very bad domestic violence in a terrible motel. Maybe even stopped child abuse as well. Frickin' A. Where most people would have ignored it and not gotten involved, you did. You're a hero. I'm late to this party but I've got one. I'm on a late afternoon delivery during my sophomore year of college. 2 years ago, I get to this lady's house in a nice neighborhood. Everything is going well so far that day, good people and nice tips. Only complaint is the heat. I arrive at her house and ring the bell. She answers. Seems like a normal lady. She says a phrase that makes most drivers a bit on edge. Go ahead and come on in. Normally I just opt to wait outside but I quietly judged that in a pinch I could probably take this lady, and so I enter. House is nice, clean and huge. I'm waiting for her to come downstairs with the money and I notice that she has the same textbook, animal biology, that I do, and I mention it. Hey, I am in that same class. That's cool. What's your major? She says. I'm working on a pre-vet degree for wildlife work. That's awesome, I say. Then she hands me the money. She then goes wide-eyed and says the phrase that begins the awkward. You want to see something cool? Red flags. But again, I could take her if a struggle ensued, so I say, like what? Come downstairs and I'll show you. Extreme red flags. I'm thinking this could be a rape scenario or a death scenario or a train set scenario or something. So I did the dumb thing and said sure. So down we go into her basement. I'm hesitant and she still won't tell me what to expect. That's when I hear it, like a slow chainsaw idling. I get to the door at the bottom of the stairs and I look in the room. The source of the noise is on the couch, an adult lynx. Holy crap, this thing was huge. It had paws the size of dinner plates. Isn't she beautiful? The lady asked. I squeaked some sort of reply as I was somewhat frozen in fear of this huge cat. Then she called it over. Come here, Janie. Janie? What a weird name, I thought. At least for a lynx. Then the beast came over and the lady scratched the ear and the lynx purred. Like a dang holly revving up. Luckily I wasn't eaten. I even was coaxed into touching the lynx. It was wildish, according to the lady. I noped out after a few more minutes. TLDR. Got invited into a house to pet this lady's huge pea. Can't wait for someone to only read the TLDR. There is a woman in Stroud, UK, that will answer the door to us with genitals showing. Not a pretty sight and we all hate taking that delivery. I once delivered to an apartment where two people in bathrobes answered the door. I could see their bondage equipment and garments under their robes. Not so much awkward as scary, but whatever. I'm a girl and when I was delivering pizzas I was around 18-19. Pretty scrawny looking thing. Anyways, I had a big delivery to a guy's party in his apartment. The apartment was on the top floor, so after hauling about 10 pizzas up 3 flights of stairs I looked considerably frazzled. The guy opens the door and there's about 15 men in the apartment and he says I should come in and put them down on the table. Now, I know better than to just enter people's houses, but this table was right near the door and there was no way I was going to be able to take the cash with 3 pizza bags draped over my arms, so I take one step towards the table and hear the door slam shut behind me. He locks the door and says, "We got one," and all these guys start snickering, and although it turned out to be a joke, albeit not a funny one, it was one of the most terrifying moments in my life. I occasionally had to deliver to a Motel 6. As I pulled in there were cop cars everywhere. Frick me. Don't be the person who ordered pizza. Don't be the person who ordered pizza. Frick me, it's definitely the guy. We locked eyes. He was in cuffs. Turns around, says something to the cop. The cop grabs money off the dresser. I give him the pizza. Decent tip. Good guy criminal. I was delivering pizza in an apartment complex that was largely Hispanic population. I was trying to find a building number when some guys sitting outside in lawn chairs and drinking beer waved me down. They asked how much it was. $50 plus if I recall correctly, and paid for the pizza plus a nice tip. 30 minutes later an angry customer calls the store asking where their pizza is. It took me only a moment to realize what happened. Pretty smart idea, really. It was homecoming night in Columbia, Missouri, where the University of Missouri is located. I'm a 2 a.m. run to an apartment complex I often visit in my line of work. The order was an extra large cheese pizza. I arrive at my customer's door and knock. No answer. I knock again. No answer. As I'm dialing the customer's number, her neighbor walks out of his place. He asks me if she was responding and I told him no. He told me that she often orders food and then passes out. He goes ahead and opens her door, and to no surprise she is passed out face first on the couch with her boob hanging out. He asks me how she paid for it and I told him it was on her credit card. He signs the receipt and gives me a fat tip. He then proceeds to open the pizza box and takes a huge bite out of 2 slices of pizza. He plants the 2 slices on his neighbor's chest and then hurls the rest of the pizza across the living room. To this day I wonder what that poor girl thought when she woke up the next day. And that, my friends, is my best pizza story. This thread is freaking amazing, but so far reading from the top, this is the only one to make me literally laugh out loud. Fantastic. I can remember 2 customers that it was always awkward to deliver to. One was a lady so fat that she couldn't breathe without making a rasping noise. Most of the time she was sleeping on the couch when I arrived, and sometimes I had to enter her house to wake her up because she was such a heavy sleeper. The worst part, though, was that she never wore anything more than her underwear. I avoided looking anywhere near her when I could. The other was an old lady who was insane from drug use and was even more unattractive than the obese lady. She often had various younger men around, and several times they were having sex when I got there. Whenever she didn't have a man around, she would invite me in. I don't remember any specific conversations I had with her, but I remember she said some pretty crazy person stuff, and I felt really uncomfortable being anywhere near her. Luckily she stopped ordering pizza after a while because she owed my boss money. I work for Domino's in Glasgow, and we deliver to this especially shite block of high-rise flats known as Kennishead. The average inhabitant of this area is adorned with Adidas trackies, trainers and a cap with the label still on. We're not allowed to go up the lifts in the buildings anyone because so many drivers have been robbed. At least if we stay in the lobby we get the chance to make a run for it. Anyway, I'd called a customer down from the intercom outside the flat, stepped into the lobby. The lifts usually take 5-10 minutes to make it down because some C has always gone and dragged their knuckles up and down the buttons for every floor. This provided ample time for a questionable weak guy and his even younger looking girlfriend to approach me. I doubt either of them were much past 16, and the girl seemed pretty boozed up. The awkwardness began upon the generous request. "Oh, I geese some pizza." She might a blow. It was difficult to maintain composure at this point, and it must have been evident on my face. The girl reassured me, "It's alright, and I'll eat the pizza after," doing my best not to offend. Knife crime is pretty rife in such areas. I politely declined. The following 5 minutes of waiting seemed to last a lifetime. I mean, it really was hideously awkward. They just stared at me. Finally I hear the ping of the elevator and a middle-aged woman steps out. To my surprise, the woman called the kids over and they started chatting. Pretty sure it was their mum. I hurriedly parted with the pizzas and got the frick out of there. Can confirm. Live 3 minutes away from Kenneth's head, in this style of clothing and youth behavior happens in my area. God, we are truly fricked for the 2014 games. I once went to an apartment complex, found the correct apartment number and knocked on the door but no answer. I could see a light on and saw someone moving around inside. I knocked several times but no answer. I went back out to my car to head back and realized I was at the wrong building. Oops, happens sometimes. So I walk over to the correct building and deliver the pizza. As I come around the building heading back to my car, I am surrounded by police cars and policemen. Turns out the apartment I was first knocking on was a girl that had been attacked by the town's serial rapist the night before. I felt so horrible. The police escorted me back to work and my boss had to verify that I was an employee, and dang, I was scared. But mostly I just felt so awful for that poor girl. I really had no idea and just fricked up to this day. I'm really sorry for scaring that girl. TLDR. Accidentally knocked on the wrong apartment door and police thought I was a serial rapist. On the customer end, it was the Friday of a long week. I didn't want to think about anything. As soon as I got home, I ordered a pizza and changed out of dress work cloths and into my weekend garb, jammies, in my case. They were Batman and I had on a Batman t-shirt. When I opened the door to receive my pie, this really cute girl breaks out into an adorable grin. She continues to grin through the entire transaction, shifting her gaze bashfully and slightly fidgeting. As I'm married with 2 kids and old as frick, I'm not sure what is up. After I have my food and she has the signed receipt, I thank her but she has trouble speaking. All the time still smiling, she takes a step back, then forward, then back, and finally steps back and says, "I really like your pajamas." She then bolted to her car. I could feel her painful shyness. From my point of view, she made the weekend for me. I don't know why, but I was totally expecting her to say your dong popped out of your pajamas. I delivered to this house, rang the doorbell, knocked, and was about to give up. Despite hearing the television, I decided to bang the door louder, and finally heard the customer yelling. He finally answered and insisted that I come in. This is against policy, just so you know. I step in, and I see what looked like a soap opera on the largest television I had ever seen. It had to be 70 or 80 inches. Then bam. Sex scene. Gay pee. I was stunned. The guy, who was barely wearing tighty whities, I don't know how I didn't know, started screaming and trying to explain about letting go while the wife was gone. I didn't hear much as I ran out the door. He paid and apologized, and insisted that I go back in. I appreciated the tip, but didn't go in. I just took the money and he already had the pizza. I left it when I ran. I had to go back the next week, and his wife was home alone. She let me know that she was alone. He was out of town, and propositioned me. I declined. Another tip, and told the boss never again. TLDR, never again. Somewhat awkward, but pretty hilarious from when I worked as a delivery driver for a sushi restaurant. I went to take an order to this one apartment, and as I got to the door, I heard a guy yell, "Are you freaking kidding me? Why did you get the caffeine-free Coke? You know I hate IT." Immediately afterwards I heard a woman loudly say, "They were on sale. Just like them unribbed condoms you got yesterday that you know I hate." I had to keep myself from bursting into laughter, so I ran down the hall to try and get it together and finish the delivery. OMFG, win for thin walls everywhere. I've delivered pizzas for 8 years. I've seen it all. People fricking, people doing drugs, naked people, people arguing, you name it, I've seen it. But to this day by far the most awkward thing for me is when the little kid answers the door and just stares at you. Just stares with those beady little kid eyes like they're just looking deep into your soul. And then the parents finally realize that you have their dinner, and then they have to look around for money for 5 minutes while this tiny little child is just giving you this stare down to end all stare downs, their eyes never wandering. The parents finally find the dang money and come to the door, and they're all like, "Oh Johnny, did you say hi to the nice man?" And the stare continues. TLDR, beady-eyed child knows my wrongdoings. I wasn't delivering pizza. I was delivering flowers and I was taking a big basket arrangement to a house and I was in a good mood for some reason. A group of people standing outside the house I am going to greet me with very grim faces and loud voices. But I cheerfully deliver the flowers with a smile and wish them a good day. I get back to the florist shop and the shop ladies tell me that the family had lost their daughter when the father unknowingly backed over her in his truck when she was playing underneath. That put me in a very weird mood afterwards. She should have told you this before you delivered the flowers. I used to work for Papa John's in a not that great neighborhood of Chicago, Uptown, if anyone's wondering. Anyway, I get to this woman's house on my first week of driving and she answers, asking if I can come in to set the pizza down on the table. I politely inform her that it's against company policy. I half thought it was a mystery shopper because we always get graded on delivery pepperoni pizza, which is what she ordered, so I made sure not to go in. She then decides to tell me that she can't hold the pizza because her boyfriend just beat her so badly that she was in the hospital. I look behind her and there's a dude just standing there staring at me. No idea if it was the boyfriend, but another girl appeared out of nowhere, took the pizza, handed me a tip and closed the door. I think I just stood outside the door for a good few minutes wondering if I should be telling anyone about this domestic violence confession. Oh man, delivering Papa John's in Chicago means you really got the worst of the worst. If they were so bad at making decisions they chose to order Papa John's over the thousands of delicious pizza choices in Chicago, that's almost as bad as getting a neck tattoo. I delivered pizza and later worked for a restaurant delivery service. I wound up managing the delivery service for almost 10 years and man, I can't count the times I've been in those situations. I can honestly say though the single most awkward thing didn't happen once but fairly often. Naked men answering hotel doors and hastily covering up while muttering, "I thought you'd be a guy dude." Male hands down, that always wins. Then there was the time I was facing a guy across his kitchen island while laying out his food and making small talk, and his large dog came up behind me and jammed his face in my butt with enough force to lift me up slightly. I made this involuntary EEP and much embarrassment was had all around. The time I was bringing in a massive amount of food to the Capitol building and when they were searching the bags I dropped a gallon of dressing on the floor. I could have died. I still writhe with shame when I think about it. Had to clean it up best I could. Next time I went they pointed out the new section of carpet that they'd replaced rather than cleaned. Sorry taxpayers. The time I got mistaken for a prostitute while delivering at the massage parlor. Being alone in Javen Curse's house. That was plain strange. Just left the door unlocked for me to go up in his house and find his kitchen on my own. That was really more bizarre than awkward though. I could go on and on. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.